What's up guys, as promised I am doing a Q&A. I got a handful of questions from the YouTube comments, a handful of questions from my Tumblr because I get quite a bit there, and we're just going to slay through them. I'll kind of elaborate on some of them, get into a little bit of a discussion on a couple of them because there's some really good ones, but let's just jump right into it. Our first two questions come from Chuck Prather. Sorry if I mispronounced your last name, Chuck. I see you commenting all the time. Thank you very much for watching and following and being a good sport. His first question is, for your jute editorial with Elizabeth and Rhett, what was your budget and how did you arrive at that budget if you had one? I can tell you that for that shoot specifically, the budget was basically like whatever a case of water and some snacks cost, essentially. I used props that I had laying around at the warehouse that I used to live at. That's where the location was. So for that shoot, there wasn't a budget. Generally speaking, for an editorial that I'm shooting on my own, if there's a budget, it's gonna come out of pocket 100% of the time. If a magazine has a budget, usually it's very small, and that goes entirely into the cost of production. It's not something that you as the photographer pocket, or I as a photographer would pocket. If their budget is $300, I would spend that $300 on props or maybe a location or whatever the case may be. As far as how you come up with a budget, that's really kind of dictated by the story that you're trying to shoot and what you have available. If you've only got a couple $100 available and that's all you have to work with, then stretch that as far as you can. Get really good at being resourceful and asking people for favors. Maybe a friend knows of a cool spot or a cool house that you can shoot in. That's a good way to get a freebie, awesome location. If you're having to style things yourself and you're pulling clothes, maybe buying and returning is an option. But do whatever you can to keep costs low if you're doing it completely out of pocket, because it adds up really fast. But you got to think of it more of as an investment than just spending money on something. Because if you come up with a really solid editorial, that's a great piece of advertising for you. It's great content for you to share and hopefully attract more business. So his second question is, do you work with the same team when you know it's absolutely necessary to get it right the first time? I guess the question is there a varsity team you use for big stuff, and is it less necessary to assemble that team for just a paid test? Yes, to the first part. I do have kind of my varsity squad, the people that I prefer to work with, whether it's a big job or an editorial or something I'm shooting on my own. If possible, there are a handful of team members that I just really like working with, and that kind of comes down to, I know that they're gonna nail the look every time, they're fun to be around, we get along really well and things like that. As far as paid tests go, I don't use a team unless it's stipulated at the beginning of figuring out what the test is going to cost. A lot of times for paid tests, the girl is either paying for it themselves, or maybe their parents are paying for it, or sometimes the agency is fronting the cost, and at some point the model's probably going to have to pay them back for it. They usually will bill them for those types of things. I would say for paid tests, probably, for me at least, 75% of the time, they don't even hire a team because they just simply can't afford it. They're paying me to shoot it, and a lot of times that's maybe all the money that they have to spare, and they don't want to spend another $100, $200 on a makeup artist, a couple $100 on a stylist. So I'd say for paid tests, the majority of the time, there isn't a team. I usually will tell them, if you really want a makeup artist and you have connections to one outside of me, you can bring somebody on their own, but that's kind of on them, just because it's a lot of work to put together if you're not being paid for it, which is just kind of how it goes. It's about keeping your costs down and being as efficient as possible. But if they're doing a paid test and the agency absolutely wants a full team and there's money available for that, then yeah, I would absolutely always try and go for the best that I can possibly get, just because I know that they're going to nail it. Julian Carbajal says, hey Dana. Hey Julian. How do you mount your GoPro to your camera? I've seen hot shoe mounts, but those don't work when I'm using triggers. Thanks in advance. Bad news, I do use a trigger that has a hot shoe. I use the Pocket Wizard Mini TT1. It triggers my pro photo lights really well. I actually started using this trigger long before I ever started vlogging my shoots because it has a high-speed sync function. It's just a really happy coincidence that it also has a hot shoe. So I just use this little mini hot shoe to tripod adapter. The GoPro can thread on and off. Cost maybe 20 bucks or so. It's really small. The one I had before was a lot bigger and clunkier. This one's a little more streamlined. I am actually probably going to be switching to the ProPhoto Air remote, at which point I think I'm just going to custom build a thin little bracket that's got just enough room for me to get my hands in and mount the camera above the lens. Just because, it's a pain in the ass. Most triggers don't allow you to use any hot shoe functionality, so this guy will become null and void, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. If you're interested in triggers, I can't say enough good things about the Pocket Wizard Mini TT1. I love this thing, I swear by it. So that is an option if you're maybe not happy with the triggers that you have and you want to kill two birds with one stone. Alright, next question is from Zeem with 3 E's 99. Says, if I may ask, are you commissioned to do these shoots? I mean, are you making a living out of these shoots? I hope that's not too personal a question. For the past year or so, I've been trying to go professional on a part-time basis for now. I'm finding it a bit difficult as to how to start. Not much of a business person, I'm afraid. Zeem, I can completely relate to you. I am probably not a very good business person either. But I will say, yes, you can absolutely make a living. I know it's super scary. The shoots that you're seeing on the vlog are mostly free tests. There have been a couple of paid tests on there and a couple of editorials on there. And that's mostly just because of the social factor. The vlog, or my vlog, doesn't have a huge number of followers, and I personally don't even really have that many followers. I'm a couple hundred shy of 10,000 on Instagram, and as of right now, the vlog is less than 200 subscribers. So I've approached a couple of my regular clients about it, and they're open to it, but kind of want to see where things go. If the vlog had a huge following, it would be super easy to get clients involved in it, just because they're constantly seeing dollars and cents and eyes on their product. But hopefully, as time progresses, more and more of my commercial clients will be interested in vlogging things and being involved with the vlog. So as of now, you're mostly seeing test shoots and editorials. As far as making a living, most of the paid work that I do a lot of paid tests and e-commerce and lookbooks and things like that. Hopefully more as time progresses, because I am very much still in the early stages of my career for sure. So I'm not shooting like huge campaigns, I'm not being flown all over the world, but it's a work in progress, and this vlog is kind of intended to be sort of me documenting my journey, hopefully to getting to that point. But I don't know what city you're in, if e-commerce is a thing there, wherever you are, if you're in one of the major cities. E-commerce is a great way that a lot of us working photographers, especially here in LA, are making a living. So it might be something to look into. The last couple of questions I have are from my Tumblr. The first one is, how do you protect your images from theft? Why don't you use watermarks or logos on them? Because they look like shit. Nobody really serious watermarks their images. It's really tacky. It takes away from the experience of looking at the picture. And honestly, it's the internet. Everybody's got Photoshop. If they're gonna steal your picture, if they want to, it's gonna happen regardless. The big thing to be diligent about is, copywriting your images and things like that. And if you see people using them without your permission, to take swift action. It has happened to me. I had a company hijack a handful of images that were trying to sell them as posters, and it was an immediate call to the lawyer and to the salespeople, and getting the ball moving as fast as possible to stop any major damage from happening. Luckily, with the internet, a lot of times you have eyes all over the place. That particular instance, it was actually the model that caught it because somebody else had seen them. You're shooting models who are pretty recognizable, and those things happen. But just as far as watermarking goes, it just really takes away from the experience of looking at the image. So I don't do it. You can if you want to, but I can tell you right now that as far as like fashion people are snobby, and even little things like that are gonna make them question you. I personally don't know anybody who watermarks their images. So the last question for the day is a good one. I see so many people talking about finding/defining their style, but I'm finding it really difficult since I'm inspired by so many different styles. That was a long sentence. Any tips? Question mark. Both of those questions were from anonymous tumblers, so I can't look at your work and give you any specific tips tailored to you, but what I can say is when you're early in your career, it is about kind of being all over the place and finding what fits best with you. Try and experiment with a bunch of different things, and then find which ones work best for you. You know, I am really inspired by really poppy, contrasty, like Martin Marcus style images, but I discovered in experimenting that that's not really a style that I shoot very well. So as you try these different things, you will find which ones play better to your strengths and your vision. And it's also about finding what you want to show people and what you want to say. Now, in tailoring that towards making money and getting work, I would suggest going and picking up like any major fashion magazine. I definitely recommend like the September issues because they are chock full of shit tons of advertising. And find maybe 5 or so brands who have a style that is relatively similar or that you can pick similarities out of, and really analyze, what makes these images, what qualities do they have, what lighting style are they using, are they all desaturated, are they super saturated, are they really soft and pretty, are they all studio, and kind of tailor what you're shooting to that. If those are the kind of brands that you want to work towards, start shooting in that style. And that's kind of what I talked a little bit about in my last vlog, about me kind of redefining my style and my direction in my career. This is literally a process that I'm re-going through right now, and it's something that I reevaluate from time to time, and I definitely recommend you guys to continuously working towards it. Because over time your preferences will change, what you want to shoot will change, the things that you want to say and the stories you want to tell will change. But it's a really good to kind of put it in the perspective of commercial, because we are a commercial industry. So yeah, find maybe like 5 brands that you'd say, okay, these are like my 5 dream clients, and really analyze what's in their imagery. How are they shooting it? How are they lighting it? What kind of models are they using? And then maybe, work in that direction, and that kind of can help you sort of flesh out something as well. So those are all the questions I have for this Q&A. I'll probably do one maybe like once a month, once every other month, something like that. So please just continuously leave them down in the comments. If you have any other questions or anything, let me know. Don't forget to subscribe. Helping grow the blog will get me be able to be bringing more people into it and things like that, and hopefully step up the game a little bit. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on Thursday.